Hello and welcome back to Longship Gaming. And also welcome to part 2 of our comprehensive hero rating and review series. This is part 2 covering what I'm referring to as the tier 2 heroes, the middle ground of the heroes released to date. This is coming out, or I'm putting this together in August 2022. These should all be up on the channel before the release of Mutant Genesis at the end of September of 2022. So we're covering all 35 heroes. How are we doing that? Okay, just to level set, I've played, this is a solo review for heroes played on Expert. I played a variety of I played all the heroes at this point. I played them all in the various decks, but far from every possible combination because it's simply not possible. There's just far too many. But there's been hundreds of games that I played and thought, you know, why not? Harebale's doing it. I'll also do a rating video. So we have a 10-point scale over 5 categories with a maximum score of 50, going from low to high. So we have fun factor. Is the hero fun to play? Power level. How powerful is the hero's base cards, abilities, basics, stats, etc. Theme. Is the hero flavorful? Does it feel like you're playing that hero or just a bundle of stats? Versatility. How many different aspects can be played well with the hero? And complexity. How easy or difficult is the hero to play? So the more difficult, lower the score. Easier, higher the score. Tie breaks for the scores, and of course there are a lot of ties. Go in the order of fun, power, theme, versatility, and complexity. So we're going to reveal what's in the box here, one at a time. So we'll be right back with our first hero of this tier. All right, in spot 24, the lowest of the tier 2 heroes, we have Thor. So Thor is fun, don't get me wrong, but I feel like the idea of playing him is more fun than the reality of it. You know, challenging minions to a fight, dragging them out of the deck, and being rewarded with either thwart or card draw is great. But I feel his power level is only around a 6. He doesn't feel as powerful as he should be. You better hope that any minion that you pull out with Defender of the Nine Realms has 3 hit points or fewer. They're going to end up spending more resources dealing with it, having to use a hammer throw, having to spend resources to bring Mjolnir back into your hand. It can be quite expensive. Then the benefit you get from putting it out into play in the first place. Stat line, thwart 1, attack 2, defense 2. It's okay. It's not the preferred 2 across the board. I really feel like his attack should have been 3. I mean, he is as strong as the Hulk and doesn't necessarily need Mjolnir to be able to boost that up. I think it would have been fine to give him a 4 with Mjolnir since that's core to how he plays. But this is what we have. Hand size of 4, well, 5 and 4. It's a little crippling. At least you do get the response of drawing cards when minions are engaged, and since you can force that engagement. The problem is only once per phase. So for a hero that's so focused on getting these minions and getting them engaged with him, limiting it once per phase seems a little, I don't know, a little weak to me. However, much like Hulk and other high hit point characters, anybody over 14, there have been a number of cards that have come out that have had a really positive effect on Thor's replayability. Limitless Stamina being one of them. Just being able to come back up for a fight so frequently is very important for a hero that is ostensibly an aggressive one. The theme is, I place that at 9. He's actually one of the strongest ones. He really does encapsulate not only that in the names of all the cards, but the fact that he's got Sif, he's got his helmet, he's got Asgard to play with, he's got Mjolnir, he is a god of thunder, so getting those resources out for him, being heavily dependent on energy resources for things like Lightning Strike, all extremely thematic. When I play Thor, I feel like I'm playing Thor. Again, he should be more powerful than he is, but I do actually feel like I've got a suite of different abilities to deal with the problems that are in front of me. For versatility, I give him a 4. Thor is very much at home in aggression, but that asset typically has a difficult time in solo because of thwart. So justice is the next best thing. It makes up for his poor threat management. Even though he's an Avenger, I really don't see him so much as a leader of that particular leadership archetype. Mainly, I think, because he is crippled by that hand size of 4. You can just do so much more with Justice at lower card cost levels than what he has. So he is extremely dependent on getting cards that assist with his draw. And there are lots of ways to support that in Justice in a way that there isn't so much in leadership. His complexity, pretty middle of the road, and in a sense kind of boring, which is why I was saying earlier that the idea of playing Thor is fun, but the actual playing of Thor is sometimes not that fun. Hit things until they're dead and hope you have the resources to deal with the threat. That's really what you're going to be doing. You're going to be constantly trying to pull minions out of the deck with Defender of the Nine Realms to deal with the threat. 3 threat, it's a good amount, but it's not enough. You need more support than that. Of course, that's going to trigger drawing more cards for Thor as well, getting him technically back up to his 6 than he should have. So he's got better. His hand size of 4 is rough, but at least he has ways to mitigate it. So he's not as resource starved, especially when you get God of Thunder out. 2 of those is amazing. So overall, I'm going to give Thor 30 points. So he edged out Drax from our tier 3 list due to his power level. So he squeaks into tier 2. He's certainly gotten better because, again, he's an earlier hero. The card pool has certainly helped him. I still think, though, that Thor works best in multiplayer as it just feels thematically that way. You can drag a whole bunch of minions into combat with you, lightning strike them, take a lot of pressure off of your of the other heroes that you're playing with, have him be the beat stick. That's really his role. But still, again, I think a fun character, even more fun now than he used to be. So he makes it into tier 2. So that's Thor in 24th place. All right, coming in at number 23, we have Rocket Raccoon. Fun factor. Well, he's Rocket. He's got guns and technology. He uses those to blast the bad guys. When fully loaded up with tech and weapons, he's fantastic. And he's also pretty good at thwarting. I've Got a Plan is an excellent card. For one cost, readying Rocket to either do an attack, which is something you're not likely to do very often, or thwarting again. So basically, one cost resource event to remove 5 threat is pretty solid. But as far as his power level goes, 2-1-1 is a pretty poor stat line. It makes sense in the context of who he is and how many weapons he has. But I find that, unfortunately, Murdered You is extremely difficult to pull off. After you deal excess damage to an enemy, you draw 1 card. You mostly want to be turning your really big attacks against minions or the villain who has a lot of hit points. Using a really big hit to take out somebody minor for the benefit of drawing one card, it doesn't really work out. Like, I know there's decks out there that really push overkill, but I don't think they work quite as well as they are intended to. So that leaves him underpowered, I feel, in a lot of ways. Tinkering, to me, rarely do I do this. I'd rather have the weapons out on the following turn. I mean, sure, a case can be made for some of the newer protection cards, like the force field generator. You get that down to 1. It's not going to be doing much for you. You can sacrifice it to get new cards. So, you know, there are some possibilities there, but it's kind of narrow and usually only in protection, I feel. As far as his theme goes, you know, he's part of the Guardian cycle, and he came in the Galaxy's Most Wanted box set. He lacks his signature ally. He lacks a location, any kind of support, lots of upgrades. But the thing is, much in the way of some other characters that are that can keep it simple, stupid sort of way, it's Rocket. He likes to blow things up. He likes to get Schadenfreude is a great card, although extremely hard to ever trigger. He's got his technology. He's got his guns. He tinkers around with them. Very thematic character, just lacking in a sense of time and place. His versatility, I give him an 8. His core cards are so strong that he really fits into any aspect. He sort of operates on his own, and the aspect cards, however you want to play the game, you are able to do so. So, not, that you have access, or I should say options, with all those aspects because he is so strong. And all it does is to support him, to allow him to take care of other problems in the game that you may not be able to reliably with his own kit, because some of his cards are quite expensive, especially his weapons. Complexity, I'm going to give it a 5. Kind of middle of the road. Your biggest choices on each turn involve which weapons to spend resources on and how best to leverage them for damage. Rocket's never going to be attacking on his own. He's pretty much always just going to be thwarting, and he'll let his weapons do the talking. So I'm going to put him at 31 points. He hasn't gained too much from a lot of the recent cards. There aren't any cards that interact with using or manipulating or moving counters around on equipment. Not much. He's not a counter-based character per se. He's a tech and weapon-based, like Voltron character. But until there are any cards that come out that play around with more counters, manipulating them, he's going to have to rely on his battery packs to effectively reload his weapons. Or keep the counters on his weapons so he can use reload and so on as to do some really, really big turns, big damage. So I don't think we're likely to see those, not at least what's been revealed so far for the mutant cycle. So, if there is something like that, if there's even better tech cards, I can see maybe him climbing up tier 2 somewhat. But for now, I think he's solidly in the position that he should be. Number 23. Okay, coming in at number 22, we have, and this might be a surprise to a lot of people, Nebula. So for fun factor, I'm giving her a 7. There's something very satisfying about turning villain Nebulas BS against other villains. Getting a bunch of techniques out to trigger all at once feels great, and can even mess with the effectiveness of the villains in counter deck. It feels like you're setting up traps to your enemy in the same way that, say, Black Widow does with her preparation cards. As a power level, I give her a 6. Slightly higher than average, largely due to the fact that techniques leave play once their special ability is triggered. If they stuck around, or you had to get rid of one, like you do on the flip side with Nebula as a villain, and you get rid of one of them, if they stayed in play longer, I think she'd be certainly more powerful. But 2/2/2 for her basic abilities is, again, perfect stat line as far as I'm concerned. And cybernetic upgrades is an efficient source of card draw on her alter ego side. So after you play a technique upgrade, draw 2 cards. Well, it's pretty good, you know. Only once per round, but you're more than likely to be able to have one of her many techniques, and inexpensive techniques. They're all ones on turn 1. So she goes from having a hand size, so you're spending a resource to play out a technique, and then you're basically getting rewarded for that with 2 more cards back. So she's always going to start at 6 with the 1 technique out, which is pretty good. So problem is, though, she is very squishy at 9 hit points. You're going to be flipping over more than you'd think, but at least you get some benefit out of it. Theme 7. So unlike a lot of the Guardians, I feel that she's got a fairly strong one because she does have Gamora as her ally. Everything she does, she's extremely high skilled. She has her ship as well. She's highly skilled, very treacherous and sneaky, a real survivor. And that's what I feel like when I'm playing her. She's pulling out every possible trick she can to gain some kind of leverage and tempo over the enemy. I think she's been given a raw deal. Maybe it's because people equate her with her her villain counterpart in Galaxy's Most Wanted, but also as a character herself, she's sort of a B, well, maybe even a C-lister. She's not really one of those top flight heroes in Marvel that you really think about when you play this game or watch anything about her as part of the Marvel Universe, read the comics, anything. She is sort of just there. Versatility, give her a 6. Justice, aggression, and leadership work pretty well with her since her core cards operate pretty independently from the remaining 25. But she is too aggro to really work with protection, I feel. Aggression just turns her into a machine, like a damage machine. But then again, if you want to be able to play around with, you can go all out, I feel, with aggression. But if you want to play around with more of her capabilities, leadership's a good spot, or justice, just to keep thwart under control, or to let your allies take a lot of the hits. I mean, she is a guardian, so she fits into that archetype and all the cards that are available to them. So again, I think a fairly versatile hero, but not in everything. Complexity, I'll give it a 5. So, you know, a good mix of difficulty in her core concept. Well, the techniques are fun. You need to be careful which ones you play out on each turn. So you are anticipating what's left in the villain's deck, what the board state is like. It's easy to go all out with them because they're cheap, but sometimes you want to be putting those resources into allies and other engine cards to be successful later on. It's very tempted just to, boom, here's all my techniques and have nothing to protect yourself. So I think she's right in the middle. She's a good character that gives you a fair amount of challenge as to when you're going to be playing her cards. So 31 points in total. I think she's solidly tier 2. There's always a chance, because there really aren't any other cards out there called Technique. Maybe one day we'll see another hero that has Technique, or that there are aspect cards that use techniques. Because right now, I really can't think of it. I might be wrong. Let me know in the comments if I've missed a technique that exists outside of her deck. But it's an area I think the game can still explore to help to boost her. Some aspect cards that are techniques. In the same way that Black Widow, there are lots of preparation cards that exist outside of her, and yet she uses them very well. So there we go. Unless there's a lot of those, I can't see her ever really breaking into tier 1. I think she's going to solidly, for me, be a tier 2 hero. So that's Nebula at 22. All right, at 21, we have Quicksilver. Fun factor, I'm giving him an 8. So if there's one thing I like more than card draw, it's readying your hero to have big blowout turns over and over and over and over again. So he has the potential to fix a really bad board state in one hero phase. Problem is, I feel his power level is a 5. It takes him a while to get to that point. So he's not going from 0 to 60 in one turn. It's going to take him a little while before he can get his upgrades like accelerated reflexes and sinew, or reinforced sinew, to bring his relatively weak 1/1/1 stat line up to speed. And sure, you can, after you use one of his basic powers, ready him, which is great. That's only once per phase. I mean, there's other cards to do that, but yeah. And I find that superpowered siblings, like the character was released alongside or around the same time. I don't know if it's the same week or not, as Scarlet Witch. You're not always going to be playing, well, on my channel I never play two-handed, so it's always playing solo. And it really depends on having Wanda Maximoff out when he's in Alter Ego 4 to get any benefit out of this, to discard 2, draw 2, or draw 3. So, and you're doing it blind. You're not able to like really search for anything. So it's only when she's out is that really worthwhile to filter out your hand. So yeah, I think with him, he's great in the late game, but he is relatively weak at the start and in the mid game. So, but wow, when you get to the end, he is incredible. Theme, I'm going to give him an 8. He's very strong thematically. The Always Be Running event alone is just fantastic to play, to keep becoming ready. I think there's 4 in here, I believe. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 4. So it's similar feeling to Black Panther with Wakanda Forever, and all of his cards sort of fit into that theme of being able to do multiple things on a turn. Speed Cyclone is just insane. Hero action, stun X enemies, and it's just superpower. Def Focus was basically made for him because almost everything he has is a superpower. Great getting those free Always Be Runnings later in the game. Yeah, even his upgrade cards are superpowers. So get Def Focus out early, you're going to profit a lot from that. But yeah, I think he's a lot of very strong thematically. He's got his sister. He's got Serval Industries. He is, it does list here, location X Factor. Too bad for some reason he's not. There are other X Factor cards in the game, even in the box set, in the starter. We just, have not seen anything like that really get played. I mean, we're going to in the future, probably. But, yeah, who knows what the future holds for him, even thematically, not just in terms of power. As far as versatility, I'm giving him a 6. Aggression, protection, leadership are great, and they enable or enhance his already strong cards. And as I said before, Def Focus. Always take that as a basic card, but always take Def Focus with him. It's free resources. It's great stuff. He's pretty strong on his own, but those 3 aspects will really take him to the next level. Complexity, I'm going to give him a 4. I think that has a lot to do, I said, with you expect him or want him to be doing great things early in the game because he is able to ready so often. The problem is it's going to take some time to really make those turns effective when he gets all of his, well, more so his plus to his attack and his plus to his thwart, for sure, later in the game. So there is some patience needed with him, even though Quicksilver is not the kind of person that would really have a lot of patience because he's always gotta be running. So you don't really feel like that at the start of the game. So it's like a tortoise and hare situation. He's more tortoise than hare, but in the end, tortoise will become the hare, I feel. So 31 points in total. He breaks the time 31 point category with his fun factor. And I really am interested to see where he ends up on the list in a year's time. I think there's a lot of potential from Quicksilver that really has yet to be explored. And maybe if they do something to tie him into being a mutant, that would be an interesting new avenue of play for him. So there's Quicksilver coming in at 21. Coming in at 20, we have Vision. So, fun factor. I'm giving him a 6. He's the second favorite of the form-changing heroes. Still has some of the inherent weaknesses that plague Spectrum, but are less problematic with Vision. Vision feels like a powerful android and is pretty efficient with his attacking and thwarting. His power level, I'm going to give him a 6. 200 looks bad on paper, but the choice between dense or intangible modes don't feel as risky as with Spectrum. There's generally an upside to each, and not quite the severe downside from many. He doesn't have any triggerable abilities as a hero or alter ego, but that doesn't really seem to impact him as much. I suspect that what makes a Vision better than average is Vivian and Hickory Branch Lane. There's a particular leadership deck that allows you to heal and reboot Vivian, who will take on different aspects of the +2 thwart and +2 attack, and be able to heal and to reactivate. I often feel when playing Vivian that she's doing a lot of the yeoman's work in the game. But even if she gets knocked out, she has to block. You're in Hickory Branch Lane. She comes back again. Yeah, so I feel that Vision would not be anywhere near this spot, the power level, if it was not for Vivian in his deck. As far as theme goes, I think it's very strong. The form changing between dense and intangible actually feels impactful depending on the turn. Vivian and Hickory Branch Lane, it's that great story arc where he tries to build a family, to try and understand what it's like to be a living being. All of his abilities play off the fact he's in one form or the other. Yeah, I think overall, very strong theme as far as a form shifting character can go. Versatility, I'm giving him a 6. Aggression, justice, and protection are very solid with him because his core is kind of good. But I admit that I personally, as I mentioned before, with Vivian, I've had the most success with leadership. It could be the kind of matchups I've been playing with him, but as time goes on, Vision may be one of those heroes who is able to operate independently of their chosen aspect. Again, if there are more cards in the future that have some aspect cards that interact with form changing, I think there's a lot of heroes that'll benefit from that, and definitely Vision is one of them. Complexity, I'm giving him a 6. Well, he's not super easy to play. His form changing is much more forgiving than that of Spectrum or Wasp. Keeping Vision's daughter ready and healthy or available is key to this deck's success, undoubtedly. So, watch what form you're in. Keep an eye on Vivian, and I think you'll largely be successful. So, 32 points. So again, unless there's some significant future cards that support either Android as a type, or form changing, I think that Vision is unlikely to move out of tier 2, but I think is a solid middle range character who I certainly do not mind playing. So there he is, Vision at 20. All right, coming in at 19, we have Ironheart. Her fun factor, I'm giving her a 7. She's a form changer, but she only form changes in one direction, and it's always good. She can't be knocked down to an earlier form. Each time you hit that 6 progress counter count, and you can upgrade your armor, it feels very, very, very good. What feels best, of course, is when you have a whole lot of progress counters on Ironheart, and she can one-shot the villain on a turn. Just amazing. There are very few heroes that can do that in a single turn, and it feels very satisfying when you can do it. So as such, I'm giving her a power level of 7. Ironheart's a champion, so as such, she has access to some very powerful basic cards like Go for Champions and the Mobile Bunker. She's a genius, so she has access to Ingenuity and makes Moon Girl to maximize her card draw when she's played, because she's champion only. She already has amazing card draw and filtering through Tony Stark AI. She really is the total package. She is quite good. Even Stroke of Genius, she has card draw just by spending a genius resource and getting progress counters. Everything that she does puts progress counters on her pretty much. So just by doing, she's sort of mid-range in her attacks, like Photon Beam deals 4, but if it defeats an enemy like a minion, for example, it's 2 progress counters instead of 1, so she's constantly learning from her experiences. Flyover, same thing. So very mid-range in her abilities for the most part, until, as I said, late game, when you've got access to lots and lots and lots of counters, and at a certain point, a tipping point, really nothing stands in her way at all. So I'm giving her a theme of 8. Very strong theme and so far unique. So she's got both her signature ally in Brawn and her sister along for the ride. She's got all of her armor upgrades, photon blasters and propulsion jets and so on. She even has access to the Tony Stark AI, so that she feels like she's part of a legacy. She is quite remarkable, I think, in terms of how theme is expressed within the rules of the character itself. So I really think 8 is the right spot for her. Versatility, I'm going to give it a 4. I hesitate to say that Ironheart is a solved hero at this point, but it really feels like it. Leadership and Justice seem to be her natural aspect favorites, since she needs room to be able to grow into her full, maximally efficient potential. But much like Riri herself, experimentation may unlock new and exciting possibilities in the future with more cards down the road. Who knows? Complexity, I'm giving her a 6. Most turns you need to decide if you're going to go hard on progress or build your engine, but in many cases you get to do both. She's by no means an autopilot hero, but she is somewhat easy to grasp and be successful with. But you really have to think about, am I going to try and progress faster, or am I trying to build my engine? And that constant push-pull is leads to making some challenging decisions on your turn. So I'm going to give her a 32 total points. She is solidly in the middle of the overall list and a tier 2. I think this is where she is going to land forever. I don't know if there's going to be any cards in the future that will help to speed up her ability with her counters to reach version 3 of her armor. If she does, I think I could see her climbing up the rankings. But I think tier 2 is likely, for me, where Ironheart's going to stage. So here she is, number 19. Coming in at 18, we have the Spider Suit, or Penny Parker, however you want to think of this character. I'm giving her a fun factor of 7. Initially, I didn't like the hero at all. that very low hand size of 3, 4 with Penny Parker at the start. It just felt absolutely crippling, and her gameplay was I thought it was sort of gimmicky and ineffective, but I have never been so happy to have been so wrong. She is far more fun. And in fact, in a way, once you figure her out, she is an absolute joy to play. So I'd say she has a power level of 7. So having a 2, 2, and 2 in her basic abilities is, again, in my opinion, the perfect stat line. 14 health, very strong. And a recovery of 4 is nothing to sneeze at on Penny Parker's card. Card draw on the alter ego side can be quite powerful on the first turn. A lot of the times you aren't really doing much on the first turn with the suit. You really want those cards for sure. She has some amazing support cards, though, ultimately, that help to overcome her low hand size. So Aunt May and Uncle Ben. So exhaust Aunt May and Uncle Ben and discard the top 2 cards of your deck. Top 3 cards instead. Add each spider card discarded this way to your hand. So Magical Christmas Land here is for a 1 cost support in any form, or either, hero or alter ego. You could get 2 cards or 3 cards, ideally, in your hand to really help you function. And they are spider cards. They're not just equipment. They're events as well, and all systems go being crucial to how successful she is. And when you get all the interfaces out, and don't forget that Penny Parker herself is an interface, and when I first started playing, I didn't realize that she could be used as that resource. And you end up with all systems go in hand, you can close out the game very quickly with the amount of resources and power that she can put out in a single turn. Theme, I'm going to give her a 7. Admittedly, I don't know much about the character, but the theme here is quite strong. Penny's the pilot. She has cards supporting both herself and the suit, and her signature ally is quite thematic and powerful in the late game with Venom. Venom gets +1 thwart and +1 attack for each sim counter on her. When Venom enters play, place 1 sim counter on her for each resource generated by Spider Suit's sync ratio ability to pay for her. So a 4/4 for 4 is very good with 3 health. An excellent late game card. Just amazing. So, having looked at this character now, I'm more intrigued to know about the character from the comics. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the Nemesis decks very often. And it has yet to happen, but I really look forward to, when Shadows of the Past comes out, putting Morbius into play and saying that's Morbin time. I can't help myself. One day it'll happen. For versatility, I'm giving her an 8. She has such a strong core set that any aspect works for her. And I kind of wonder whether or not you could get away with an entirely basic one as well. It's whatever allows Penny to be able to get all of her interfaces out as quickly as possible and just have amazing access to resources throughout the game. So, very interesting. I think there's a possibility you could have, as I said, basic as a solid type for her, because I think she's still relatively new, and although there's some good decks out there for her, I don't think her full capacity has yet been reached. So, looking at her complexity, I'm going to put her down to 3. She takes a few games to really get a handle on, because she's so different from every other hero, having these in play all of the time, knowing which of your interfaces to use for energy and which one are for resources and which ones to keep to deal damage or to deal with thwart. it does take some careful planning, especially in the early game. You're always going to feel like you're behind the 8 ball until you get this suit powered up. Very difficult to master, but very, very satisfying when you get her to work and when you have some experience with her. So that puts her at 32 points. I doubt very much in the future if there's going to be any cards that would support interface as a card type, or there probably won't be any more Web Warriors for quite a while, if ever. So she's going to end up standing on the strength of her core deck design. I think she is going to always be a tier 2 hero, and unlikely to ascend into tier 1. There just won't be enough cards in the future to support her archetype play. But who knows? Be interesting to see what happens as more and more cards come out to potentially support her. So that's Spider Suit at 18. All right, coming in at 17, we have Ghost Spider. The Web Warrior cycle has been a lot of fun from Sinister Motives, and everything has come out along with them, and Ghost Spider has been no exception. Playing Gwen feels like playing a control deck in Magic. So her core cards have tools that allow you to mitigate the threat posed by the villain. Her power level, I'm giving her an 8. 1, 2, 3 is a very strong stat line. And Dizzying Reflexes reward you once each per phase for just doing what she does best, which is playing interrupts and responses. Her alter ego ability is sort of meh, and her lower recovery 3. It doesn't really encourage you to be flipping over that often to her alter ego side. So you got to really rely on her defensive 3 quite a bit. And her, she has, of course, a lot of defensive abilities. She's a reactive hero in a sense, and very different from many that we've seen in the game so far. Theme, I'm going to say 9. It's a very high rating, even though she lacks the signature ally. It's this high, in my opinion, because the core cards fully capture her defensive powers, her agility, her acrobatic nature. Again, in some ways it's very simple. So she has access to some of the tech that, of course, other Web Warriors do. She's got her father looking out for her. So yeah, I think very strong thematically as a almost purely reactive, I don't want to say defensive hero, but a reactive hero to benefit you greatly by controlling what the villain can do to you. For versatility, I'm going to give her a 4. Protection is Gwen's proper home. Although due to her built-in defensive nature, aggression is also a viable aspect to help counterbalance it. Complexity, I'm going to give her a 4. So this may be because of my own particular style of play, but I don't like having to play cards during the villain phase and having not a lot of cards to play on my phase. I don't like being left short of resources. Dizzying Reflexes blunts this somewhat by being able to stand back up again. But, there are plenty of villains and minions out there who are going to attack multiple times in the turn. And even she can find herself overwhelmed and not really being able to put much into play on her own turn. So she ends up feeling very defensive most of the time. So I think for her overall, I'm going to give her 32 total points. Undoubtedly, there's going to be future interrupt and response cards across every aspect that'll further refine how to play her. I think she has the potential to reach tier 1, honestly, with more interrupt and response cards. There are a few good ones that are in aspects, but I think there will undoubtedly be quite a few more that might fit very well with her, especially in protection and aggression. So I look forward to seeing if she can reach the heights of tier 1. So that's Ghost Spider at 17. All right, coming in at 16, we have Iron Man. I'm going to give him a fun factor of 6. He's a core set character, and as such, he has a very basic gameplay loop. Build your engine and accelerate to success. Bide your time, take your lumps, and eventually win. But I think that he has certainly benefited from the deepened card pool, and it's made him much more fun to play than, let's say, 2 years ago or more when the core set came out. Power level, though, he's very much in the middle out of 5. Enhanced somewhat by a deeper card pool. 2-1-1 is a terrible stat line for him. That hand size of 1 was always bad. 2 would have been better. But, you know, I get why they've done this, that he becomes much more capable and has more access to more resources, the more equipment that he has on. The equipment itself, I mean, other than maybe Arc Reactor and the armor, I never felt like it really does much for him. So, you know, the helmet removes 1 thwart from a scheme instead, or from each if you have an aerial trait, but in order to get aerial, you have to spend resources to become aerial with the rocket boots. I don't know. And the gauntlets are just way underpowered. 1 damage or 2 damage just to ping things. Yeah, I think his core cards are fairly weak, but luckily he's grown stronger because of excellent aspect cards. I'm going to give him a theme of 9. Again, it's a keep it simple, stupid sort of thing. But on top of his core cards that are all parts of his armor, which make a lot of sense, you've got Pepper Potts, you've got Stark Tower, and War Machine. And they all provide excellent benefits to him. So it marries that theme to utility in the deck that I think really puts him above many other heroes. So I think a solid 9 in that category. Versatility, I'm giving him an 8. Any aspect works with Iron Man because they all counter the inherent weakness of his core cards. They really do stand on their own. It's remarkable in a way. But he can be very successful in pretty much every aspect now because those decks or those aspect cards are so much more refined after all this time. As far as complexity goes, I'm giving him a 5. So again, with a deeper pool of tech cards, I feel that he's actually become more difficult to play because you have to make hard choices between playing out his own tech and tech, maybe, let's say, in protection, like force field generators or armor or whatnot. You want to give him tech cards, but do you want to give him his tech cards, or do you want to give him tech cards that are open to anybody? And especially since some of those are so very good now, in a way that they weren't in the past. So 33 total points. I feel that even though Iron Man may still be sort of hamstrung by his core cards, similar in a way to Black Panther, the access that he has to much more tech out there has made him much more of a viable character over the years. So this puts him in 16th place. I don't think he's likely to ever get out of tier 2, but I do have fun with Iron Man every time I play him. So there he is at 16. Coming in at 15 is Miss Marvel. Fun factor. I'm giving her a 6. Miss Marvel is solid, but not the most fun to play. She's generally straightforward. I'd say she sort of feels like a mid-range deck in Magic. You get your engine going, you apply damage and thwart, and hopefully succeed. She's very by-the-numbers gameplay, right? So you get, let's say, where's the here? Shrink. You get Shrink into play, and then you play sneak by and use that to enhance to bump it up. So she's good. She does have slight bursts, but she's good in that 3 to 5 thwart or damage range. Very very mid range, but somewhat by the numbers. Stat line of 1, 1, and 1. One of the worst stat lines in the game. I understand why. Her core cards do all the heavy lifting, allowing you to use morphogenetics to its full effect. So when you play an attack, thwart, or defense, basically pretty much anything you do, then return that event to your hand. Or exhaust her and return that event to your hand. So you want to get the most use out of things like Wiggle Room or Big Hands and so on. But she herself is rarely ever going to be thwarting or attacking or defending. I mean, it's only a 1. You might as well just take the hit. Her hand size, 5'6", pretty standard. She has an excellent 5 recovery, though. There are very few that are that good. And Teen Spirit, on her alter ego side, discard cards from the top of the deck until you discard a Miss Marvel card, then add that card to your hand. That's, can't argue with that. It's pretty good. 7 card start for even if you're discarding. Theme, I'm going to give her a 10. She's one of 3 heroes that rate a 10 on theme, in my opinion. She's got her brother, she's got her best friend, she's got her signature ally in Red Dagger. She's got some of her technology here where she shrinks, she grows, she does a little bit of everything. She's very energetic in that sense. And the fact that these support cards that are in Alter Ego, they are extremely useful for her. In a lot of ways that, a lot of characters that have a lot of Alter Ego, I think she's probably got the most out of anybody. 3 support cards that actually help you draw or, have cheaper, pay for things more efficiently or hold on to cards for you. It encourages you to be spending some more time in Alter Ego, which fits thematically with what she does. And I'm going to point out, of course, I don't, again, bring up the Nemesis or their obligations, but Home by Dawn, very appropriate for the character like this when you're playing basically a teenager. So very strong theme, 10 out of 10. For versatility, I'm going to give her a 4. Aggression and Justice suit Miss Marvel very well. You can choose to burn down the villain very fast, or keep scheme very, very low for a longer grinding game. But yeah, I think that's where she has her home in Aggression and Justice. Complexity, I'm going to give her a 6. As I said earlier, her gameplay is very by the numbers, but there's a lot of adapting you need to do against your chosen villain. Since she has no big spiky thwart or attack turns, usually, you have to be very aware of the cards remaining in your deck. So I'm going to put her at 33 total points. The deeper and I've said this before, the deeper that the card pool grows, the more refined older heroes like Miss Marvel are going to get. Her being a champion opened up a lot of design opportunities with all those excellent cards that came out in the champion cycle. Now that it's over, however, and we're likely never to see, maybe not ever see any more champions because we're going to be getting mutants for the foreseeable future. I don't think she's likely to rise above where she is now, but she is a solid tier 2 fun character to play. So that's Miss Marvel at 15. Coming in at 14, we have Hawkeye. I have a soft spot for underdogs. Clint certainly fits that description. Does it make sense the guy with the bow and arrow could take on Thanos solo? No. Is it fun to try? Yes. At least for me. For his power level, I'm going to give him a 5, though. 1-2-1 is a bad stat line. His bow has a lot of heavy lifting to do. So you better hope his quiver is full of solutions for the turn's problems. I mean, quick draw is good. But I really don't understand why Weapon of Choice costs a resource to retrieve his bow. It really should have been added as a setup card. I don't quite understand why it costs anything. But, you know, it'd be like Thor's hammer or Captain America's shield or Wolverine's claws. These are things that you shouldn't have to go looking for. It should be part of setup. You could lose it. You might have to pay for it again. Something bad might happen to you. You're stripped of your weapon. But it really should always be as part of setup for characters like this. For theme, I'm giving him a 9. Not only are Hawkeye's arrows utterly thematic, they are tied directly to his overall power. They allow you to overcome problems like tough, crisis icons, minion swarms, provide reliable sources of confuse and stun. He does a little bit of everything. Real bag of tricks sort of play to him, making him punch way above his weight due to his survivability. That said, versatility, I'm putting him at a 6. So aggression, leadership, and to a very much lesser extent justice. But I think that maybe because of the very good shield package that's now part of, indelibly part of justice forever. And of course, it fits fairly well with him thematically because he is a shield agent. Aggression, you can do surprising things with aggression with him. He can spend a good amount of time even just attacking on his own and firing with his bow a lot at the same time. It's amazing, really pumping up his attack can do. He can be a real bruiser when he wants to, and has a lot of different arrows to get him out of jail for free if he gets into any kind of problem. But also helps, of course, that he's the Avenger, so he fits very well into leadership because of that. Complexity, I'm putting him at a 6. Most turns you need to be asking, A, am I firing enough arrows? And B, are they the right ones for the job? I mean, everything else is just a question of efficient resource use. So he's kind of middle of the pack difficulty, just a little bit towards the easier side. If you're not firing arrows, what are you doing? So I'm putting him at 33 total points. He's a solid tier 2 hero, nothing flashy, but it gets the job done. Very likely not to move up or down in the rankings. Due to the fact there's next to no chance of any future cards that would enhance his core get arrows and shoot arrows mechanic. For that, you know, he's just kind of a regular guy, but he's a regular guy who can pull out some surprising plays when you need him to. So that's Hawkeye at 14. Coming in at the top of Tier 2 in 13th place is Spider-Woman. Fun factor. So I'm putting her at a 7. Prior to the introduction of Shield-themed cards, especially in Justice, Spider-Woman was pretty middling to play. Yeah, she had access to every aspect, yet she had little to support her core cards. More options for Spider-Woman has equaled more fun. She's a power level of 6. She's a jack of all trades. Jessica Drew could do a little bit of everything, but lacked the ability to do big damage and thwart bursts. There are so many low-cost events across all aspects now that makes it easy to boost her 1-1-1 stat line to 3-3-3 consistently with her superhuman agility. Being both a shield agent and an Avenger leaves her a lot of options in terms of cards that she has access to and can benefit her. Thematically, pretty good. I'll give her a 7 for that, but nothing awe-inspiring. There's some much needed, since she can do a little bit of everything, she feels a little unfocused. Having her apartment here and Captain America as her signature ally go a long way to sort of like fleshing her out. Yeah, so she could use a little more flavor, but I think it's still pretty strong at a 7. Versatility, with her dual aspect double agent ability, she's comfortable in all combinations of aspects. She offers some of the most varied deck building options of any hero, and in a way that Adam Warlock should have been, but turned out not to be. For her complexity, I'd say she's right in the middle. Your toughest choices are during deck construction, not so much during gameplay. She's got good mid-range events that can fit into any playstyle. So that leaves her at 33 total points and the best of Tier 2. As I said, prior to the Shield cycle of cards, I would have probably put her in Tier 3. But she's improved drastically with her new tools. But, you know, we're not probably looking at any new Shield of any kind for a very long time. And as such, you know, as newer characters come in, more of the mutants come in, there's a good chance that she's going to get bumped from her #1 spot at the top of Tier 2. So there you have it. Spider-Woman coming in at 13. So there we have it. Tier 2 is complete. From Thor sitting at 24 through Spider-Woman sitting at 13. Thanks very much for watching. We will be moving on next week to our Tier 1. The top 12 heroes, in my opinion, in Marvel Champions. So again, comment in the comments below. Tell me that I'm wrong. Tell me that I'm right. I encourage your feedback. So until next time, happy gaming. Thank you so much for watching Longship Gaming. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and leave a comment. It will really help the channel to grow and improve. Don't forget to hit the bell icon so you'll be notified when more Longship Gaming content goes live. Until next time, happy gaming.